For refrigerator products, when Argus first opens after you load your serial number, it'll start you on the summary page like you see here. The summary page will show you the recent ambient humidity, outside temperature. It'll show you your temperatures inside the refrigerator and freezer compartments. And in some models, it's capable of showing you what the set temperatures were there also. It'll show you your refrigerator and freezer door opening amounts and the durations that the doors were open for the past 24 hours. That's under the summary tab. Next, we will look at the cooling cap tab. This is where you get your last 90 days worth of cooling information and how the unit has been performing. So as you can see at the top, you have tables here that give you temperatures, and also you have your door open amounts and durations. Now I want you to watch as I click across the chart on the bottom. Notice that the numbers at the top on the tables change. So wherever you click at the bottom, it affects the table at the top. It'll let you know exactly what was taking place on that date at that time on wherever you select. So what you're looking at down here on the chart, this is 30 days worth of data at a time. And you see right at the top of that chart, it says previous 30 days or next 30 days. So you can move back and forth if you want to see more information. So here's the information for March. If we hit back again, there's the information for February. So you can toggle back and forth there. Now, this is a unit that's actually cooling properly. We wanted to show you a unit that's operating normally first. And you say, well, what about all these orange spikes in temperature on the screen? Well, those orange spikes that you see, those are normal defrost cycles. So the temperature increases when the unit's in defrost. You can take and you can spread the chart out, just like you're zooming in and out the camera on your phone, so that you can see a little more detail here. So when you do that, you can see that in between those peaks was actually several hours that elapsed. So those are your defrost cycles. Also, anywhere on this chart that you touch, it'll give you the specific information on how it was cooling at that exact moment. Like you see here, this little table popped up on the screen, and this is the information you can get. Your control temp, that's not necessarily what the customer has the unit set to, but that's what the unit is trying to achieve to then achieve what the customer has it set to. So don't let that confuse you. But you just want to make sure that your actual sensor temperatures are at or below the temperature of the control temp and the unit's working properly. So this is the information that you can get out of the cooling cap tab. Another thing that you can determine under the cooling cap tab is whether the unit is a single or dual evaporator. So as you can see on the chart, the brown circle or the brown line that you see going across the chart, that's your refrigerator defrost sensor information. So this unit would be a dual evaporator because you can see that there are ups and downs on the chart for the refrigerator defrost sensor where the brown line is going across. If it was a single evaporator, that would be a straight line, and I'll show you that now. Here is an example of a single evaporator. You can see that the brown line is going straight across the graph, right above the 30-degree mark. And that's how you indicate that it is a single evaporator, since there's no data being recorded there because it doesn't have a refrigerator defrost sensor. If there have been any error codes in the last 90 days, the error codes will also display under the cooling cap tab, and they will show up on the chart. As you see here in this example, this unit has had several FF error codes or freezer fan error codes that took place for about a week in April. This would be a good time to click in the chart and just check and see, was there excessive door openings or excessive door open durations that could have caused the fan to freeze up. In this case, it just looks like the fan's probably going bad and needs to be replaced. Also notice at the top of each point where there's an error code, there is a reset point. The board goes into a reset to try to fix itself when errors occur. You can also see reset points because the customer unplugged the unit or plugged it back in, or if there was a power loss or things like that. That's what those reset points across the top means. But this information will be available under the cooling cap tab. Another thing to point out while you're looking at the cooling cap data, when you're looking at the graph, if you have an area like you see here in the middle where it's just a long stretch of just straight lines, let me blow this up. So if it's just a long stretch of straight lines where it's not recording any data, that's most likely where Wi-Fi dropped out. That's what that means. So that's just a Wi-Fi failure. Could have been in the home, but as you can see, it reconnected and started collecting data again on its own. But that's just a Wi-Fi issue, so don't let that concern you too much when you see those. So now we have shown you how to navigate the cooling cap tab. Now we're going to show you some specific problems that you can diagnose using the cooling cap. So if you look at this chart, let me zoom in a little bit, we can see it a little better. You'll notice that the refrigerator sensor temperature, which is the blue line, the temperature is increasing. And our freezer temperature, which is our orange line, it is decreasing. So it's trying to cool more to get the refrigerator temperature down, but the temperature in the refrigerator section is increasing. You also know that it is a single evaporator because it has a straight brown line, so there's no refrigerator defrost sensor. Single evaporator. So in this case, you can look at this chart and you can determine that the unit either has a blocked duct, not allowing airflow to take place, or the damper is not opening, allowing airflow into the refrigerator section. So that's one issue that you can quickly diagnose by looking at this data. Another issue that you can diagnose is excessive usage or excessive door opening time and durations. I want to point out one thing on this screen. You see the orange bars or the columns coming down the graph. That is where the Argus system itself is picking up on problems. So when you see those orange bars, that just means Argus pointed that out as an issue. So don't worry too much about that. But I'm going to blow this up and let you see. So we can see in that area where the orange bars are, the temperature of the freezer is increasing. That's our orange line. And if we click through, we can see different places. So right here, if you look up at your table, the refrigerator doors were open 107 times for over an hour, 63 minutes. And the freezer doors were open 30 times for 19 minutes. There's no way the unit can cool well under those conditions. And then as you come back over and the unit's cooling properly again, you can see that the door open amounts and durations are back down. So you can take that information and you can show it to the customer, let them see that it was heavy usage causing their cooling issues. Here's another example of it not cooling well in the freezer compartment, but as you can see right in the middle of my graph, it had a quick spike in temperature in the freezer and then it came back down. Now that lasted for a few hours there for that customer, but most likely what happened is the door was closed, but it wasn't 100% sealed, so there might have been a food package or something keeping it from closing all the way, but the magnet was made so that it thought that the door was closed and just caused temperature to spike. When you click in, I mean, you can see, if you look at the table at the top, there's not any excessive door opening amounts or durations that took place there. But the rest of the time on this graph, you'll see that the unit's cooling fine. So you would just explain to the customer that the door wasn't sealing properly, caused that temperature spike. So I hope this helps you understand the key items that you can look for under the cooling cap tab. Again, it shows you the last 90 days worth of cooling performance. Thank you.